so let me go ahead and put some of this in order for us really fast, and then we can get ourselves started. Alrighty. All right. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newsroom. Sorry. Welcome back to the newsroom, and welcome to the Goutopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report, brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company. Here we go. So, I gotta say, I've been lacking on this particular subject for a bit of time. I do have some justification behind it, but I've been lacking on the subject. So, at the time that you're watching this, you should have seen the two parts that came before it, if it's not just one big part, where it goes over Becky leaving LolCow Queens, as well as the LolCow universe, and then her wanting to start her own network after that. This right here is kind of the third installment of an ongoing process. Whereas she now is willing to dish more of the deeper dirt in the LolCow universe. Mainly, that I find interesting is really the financial aspects of it, and how that she thinks the numbers aren't right, there's being padding, so on and so forth. She even brought up Argentinian pesos, which is an interesting one, which shows you in a lot of ways, or I think it may expand more on the idea that DSP has far more, or has had far more influence on LolCow and on Keem than maybe vice versa. But we'll see about that. With that being said, let's go ahead and actually transition over to one of my favorite segments, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one of your favorite segments. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my TED Talk. So Becky, in particular, dropping pearls on the current situation, I feel like has value in such a way of, given how entrenched she was. I'm speculating on how much she knew about the finances or how it worked. I know she knew a whole lot about what was going on for LolCow Queens, given her vicinity to Mike, or kid behind the glasses, or kid behind the camera, or the pedophile in question. So there's that. But also, I'm sure that she's had Keem at least somewhat open up some of the ledgers to give her an idea of how the business works. Because remember, she didn't want to be an employee. She didn't want to be an independent contractor. She wanted to actually have some ownership, not only of LolCow Queens, which apparently she had no ownership in, but in the LolCow universe as a whole. And so I don't know, and while still working on her own brand, the Becky Boop show, and so on and so forth. So we'll see what that looks like. Now, as I said earlier on, there should be at least one video, if not two, that kind of lead up to where we're at now. And then it should expand even further later on. Big ups to Big Lebrowski, who is now, whether he realizes it or not, he's now kind of like the go-to guy when these people who are spurned in some way, shape, or form by LolCow Universe go to that, talk about their grievances. He's been doing interviews with at least two of them, and there's at least three other people that they want him to talk to. Becky, who I think Becky actually mentions that in this here, where she said she would be absolutely interested in doing so. And then I think she wants Savage. I think they want him to speak to Savage, and I can't remember if it was Psycho Mom was the other one or somebody else. And even though the demand's there, from what I'm hearing, not directly from him, but from what I'm hearing, he's saying that he's not sure if he's going to do it anytime soon, whatever. But I think he's kind of the go-to for something like that. So, I mean, he's kind of got the market cornered, so he needs to kind of take advantage of those things while he has it. At the same time, I also think that he's worked himself into Keem's hands, and he doesn't realize it yet. And I'll expand upon that a little bit more. There's a few people I want to run this by before I completely come out publicly with that. And that's nothing against Lebrowski. It's just that's how Keem works. You know what I'm saying? So, and there are some shortcomings to having an affiliation with Keem like that. Axe duty, he'll tell you. And so there's that situation. But we'll see. We'll see how that works itself out down the line. But that's what we're going to initially go over here. So let's see. And like I said, I'm bringing you guys two videos from someone who I'm not completely familiar with, but apparently they've been on this LolCow train for a little bit, along with Round One, along with Hollywood Huggy. So this is just another person in the rotation who picked up some pretty good stuff, and Becky is, I mean, yet again, I don't think a lot of people are giving a lot of focus to Becky right now, but it's very clear that she's looking to get her pound of flesh, and we'll just see how it plays out for her. In any case, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And let's move right to the subject matter as a whole. So let's go ahead and go with a coffee shop type situation, I think. And let's go ahead and lay the situation out if I can. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with, what is this? Cobb. And we're going to actually have two videos that are going to make up this broadcast. First video, let's see. Becky knows that LolCowLive is dying. We all know that, but her insight would be valuable. And then the follow-up to that, which is from the same stream, apparently this must have been a pretty long stream, is Becky Boop talks about LolCowLive behind the scenes. Now, I don't think I've seen the second one yet, or if I have, I've only heard about it. I've only like listened to it in the background, so on and so forth. I don't know if there's too much there that I don't already know, or at least hasn't already been spoken about publicly. But if she has something to say, then, you know what I'm saying, we should go ahead and give her that. So that's a thing. So let's go ahead and get ourselves started here.
Holy God!
Alrighty. So that's our situation here. The link to Cobb will be down in the description if you guys want to check this out. For those of you who are interested in keeping up with any of this nonsense, if you will. I am very interested to see how LolCow falls and whatnot. And more importantly than that, not really LolCow falling, because if it falls, it falls. I'm interested in seeing what Keem is willing to invest in it to keep it up. Because Keem is very much in tune with his ego. And he has the money and the resources to throw at it. Because let's be honest, if he is facilitating all these people as independent contractors, this is all just one big ass tax write-off anyway. So for the most part, so it's not like, you know what I'm saying, he has to throw up a lot up front, but trust me, his accountants and everything will make sure he gets everything back later on. So that is what that is. But I am anxious to see what Keem is willing to throw at this. On top of the begging initiative, which Becky herself has taken credit for. I've spoken about that in a previous video that I've gone over, and Keem has taken it on as well. And his begging, believe it or not, is ramping up in a similar manner to how DSP's begging is going, to be honest with you. It's really, really bad. And that, I think that speaks a lot. There's a lot of people on the payroll over there. There's a lot of moving parts, and you know, it's something there's something to be said about that. On top of that, there are people over there that are working for free. Like, I don't know if this is supposed to be some gnome type internship type program or whatever, but not everybody over there is being paid. So that leads to a whole nother question in itself. But whatever, ladies and gentlemen, let's just go ahead and get into our first video. And let's make that a thing. Give me just a second. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with our first video of two videos that'll make up our broadcast, brought to us by Cobb. Let's see. Becky Boop knows that LolCowLive is dying. Here we go.
He's showing me his head.
Actually, T-Mac, I've been watching their numbers, and the LCU's numbers are horrible. Horrible. Queens, they're getting I don't know how they did today, LolCow Queens. They're getting a lot of memberships dropped on them from once again, members that we don't know from the community. They're like these anonymous accounts. Stop tapping about Queens. You know they are still doing good, and now with the addition of Gidgey, it's just going to keep getting better. I'm glad you feel that way, and if you're happy watching their show, more power to you. They are not doing good. I look at the numbers that count, which are the money, and they're doing really, really, really bad.
Now that right there actually kind of says something, because she says she's looking at the money. She's not looking at subs or anything like that. And that's because, and I'm sure Becky has seen quite a bit of that, allegedly, is that all that can be manipulated. A sub count can be manipulated just like a view count does. So the money is the real measuring stick of all that. And she would obviously know firsthand, as most people over there, honestly, because Keem was always quick to push that initiative. You guys need to have certain amount of money to be made each and every show, so on and so forth. I don't know if he pushes it to this is what you guys need weekly, but I'm pretty confident each show has a certain benchmark they need to hit consistently or be able to exceed it. So there you go. Theoretically, Keem has trained her well, but she may very well be innate to that practice anyway.
Really bad for today. I don't have my hair on. I don't have my hair on. I don't want to turn on my camera. Oh, I don't want to turn on my camera. Hi, guys. It's going to be a different show today. I look like such a boy right now. I look like such a boy. Okay, well, you guys to see me in my true form for today. K-Bear says, check controversial chat in Discord. Oh, I'll have to check the clip. I will check the clip. Okay, so here's what's going on for today, guys. I
wonder if she's still in the LolCow Discord now that I think about it. And more importantly than that, or to go even further than that, I wonder if she still has access to LolCowLive or to LolCow Queens. Let me give you an example. So Agent Proper, big ups to Agent Proper, hooked me up with a screenshot of Wings of Redemption launching a members only stream on LolCowLive. And now obviously, and the way it was explained to me is he was going to have a members only stream. He launched it on LolCowLive. It was up for about 20 minutes, maybe 12 to 20 minutes, and then he immediately took it down. So that right there tells you some things. One, it tells you that Wings still has access to the channel, the main LolCowLive channel. Two, I don't think Wings ever sold his cut of the of LolCowLive. I think he's still collecting residuals, and that might be smart because it keeps the door open for either him, Kelly, or both to go back. On top of that, it just goes to show that Wings is just as deep into their analytics as Becky is trying to assess their analytics. And if nothing else, Wings may very well be feeding her information. So that's a thing. And we all know that there is an alliance, or at least an understanding between Wings and Becky. I don't know. I'm not going to get into the attraction, this, that, and the third. I'm not saying that Becky's going to get power bombed on the bed or nothing and whatnot, because it don't matter because he has low testosterone, so he can't do anything about that anyway. But the point being is that there is a line of dialogue between the two of them. They're still somewhat close. So who knows what's actually being said in Wings and Becky's DMs as it pertains to the LolCow. You know what I'm saying? Or the LolCow universe, or the LCU. So who knows what's being, pushed back and forth between the two of them. I may embellish upon that as we move forward, but just something to think about, though.
Feeling a little under the weather, hence why I'm in my pajamas and not done up or anything. I'm literally going to be getting ready with you guys. And Roxy.
Okay, we're back in the mix. Let me go back just slightly. It might have been too far, but we'll be all right.
Commercial chat in Discord. Oh, I'll have to check the clip. I will check the clip. Okay, so here's what's going on for today, guys. I'm feeling a little under the weather, hence why I'm in my pajamas and not done up or anything. I'm literally going to be getting ready with you guys. And Roxy has the night off tonight because she had some family stuff come up, and I would rather her feel well rested for like tomorrow because she's got 2 shows to do tomorrow. So I told her take the night off.
Roxy, just for context, was that member of LolCow Queens whose husband had like a situation and they thought he might die. Becky and Tina had made fun of it. LolCowLive basically, jumped on them saying, oh, he could have died, yada, 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 yada. But then it's alleged that they may have cracked jokes about the situation too. Just putting that out there.
Tonight, I'll hold down the fort. Thank you for saying I look good. I appreciate it. I appreciate some changes I've made. Yeah, I heard that Queens was a shit show today. LolCow Queens, the other queens, the inferior queens. Yes, they suck. All right, I'm going to hit my vape. I might get very silly today. It's one of those days. I will not eat the Bean Boozleds. There's no fucking... Okay, Travel Mehmet, tell me you're a liar without telling me you're a liar. We all know that show is not amazing anymore. It needs the plug pulled on its life support. The entire LCU does. Actually, T-Mac, I've been watching their numbers, and the LCU's numbers are horrible. horrible. Queens, they're getting I don't know how they did today. LolCow Queens, they're getting a lot of memberships dropped on them from once again members that we don't know from the community. They're like these anonymous accounts, and you guys know I know everybody in the chat over there, right? Because I lived in the chat. I know everybody who watches, and these are new people, and I'm not trusting it. I'm not. I think there's some bullshit and fuckery going on.
Now, here's the thing. It's interesting to say that after the fact that you're no longer there, but how much of that, those same anonymous accounts or whatever were there while she was there? You know what I mean? Like, if you go back and look at the track record of some of these shows, like, most of them had no business seeing $500 a show, or whether through super chats or memberships or whatever. And then it kind of gradually boosted up. It didn't happen overnight to make it super suspicious, but it did eventually grow as you would expect with natural progression. But it does make you wonder, how much bullshit did she see while she was there, which is only making her more confident to call it out now that she's no longer there. You know what I mean? And like I said, I gotta give Becky some credit. She is a very powerful asset. I don't know if she's worth the headache all the time, but I do think that she is strong enough of an asset that Keem can't necessarily afford for her not to come back eventually, which leads me to believe that this whole situation is really just, and I've spoken about this before, this is really Becky just trying to prove, hey, this is what I'm pulling. This is an estimate of the money that she's making, whatever, or her show is making. You can't say you don't need me. You do need me. And if so, and Keem finally decides to buckle, then she can basically list her demands and she can very well get it. You know what I mean? So I do still think there's a long game in this. It's just a matter of, will she or can she consolidate enough attention on herself and on whoever else that she decides to bring onto the show, Queen Supreme or whatever the fuck, to make it seem lucrative and enticing enough for Keem to take the knee and basically ask for her back, and then concede to at least some of her demands.
Maybe they're Argentinian subs. I don't know, but I don't trust it. Thank you for, when it looks cuter, it's almost right now I just look like a boy, but it can look Becky Boopish a little bit as it grows in more. I did see Lebrowski do his interview with Ruby, and I didn't get to watch it, but I think I would do an interview with him at this point, because at this point, I tried really hard to keep things kind of nice so I wouldn't officially get Voldemorted over there, so that you guys could still go back and forth between communities. But since they've done the Great Purge over there, doesn't seem like I need to worry about being Voldemorted anymore. If I've been Voldemorted, might as well go all the way out, right?
Now, here's the thing about the Lebrowski thing. And Lebrowski, when he first stepped into the LCU, well, not even stepped into LCU, let me be very clear about that. He was never part of LCU, so I didn't mean to say it like that. When he first started going over LolCowLive content, it was really, he was just commenting on their dumb shit, mainly taking shots at Boogie, so on and so forth. Over time, and his approach and how he decided to go about it over time made him, well, he's funny. He's really funny, to be honest with you. And he's entertaining, but it also made it an attractive attraction outside of LolCowLive, to the point, I can't prove this, but to the point where his videos were purposely being sent around some of the LCU and whatnot, and that's how more and more of them knew about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, someone really put it in there and pumped his videos around certain circles to, hey, this is a pretty funny guy. He talks about some of our stuff. You should watch him. And so on and so forth. Because none of them really found him, in air quotes, through natural YouTube means. Someone had to send them links and whatnot, which is cool. I think when Keem first saw him, he was like, okay, an outside source that I don't have to pay and who doesn't have any real affiliation with us, but who's getting our names out there for good, bad, or otherwise. And I think as Lebrowski became more and more critical of some of their dumb shit, and rightfully so, Keem started to get into his feels. And also, Lebrowski used to go over there and like troll them in their chat. I don't know if he was in their Discord, but I know he trolled the hell out of them in their chats and shit like that. And most of them just took it on the chin. But Keem, especially when the Link shit came out, the shit about his fiance or whatever, he started to get butthurt about some of that stuff. And I wouldn't say that he got I wouldn't say, Keem was calling for his coup de grace, but he was starting to get more and more frustrated with Lebrowski when he showed up. But other members of the LCU really liked his content. And so they kept supporting him no matter what. And then now that you have some of these people who have left and are leaving, he's starting to become the marquee content creator to go to as it pertains to, you know, laying out your grievances. The thing is, for some of them, they're probably not going back to the LCU anyway, so it is what it is. But what about the ones who are? What about the ones who do decide to do so? Keem can hold anything that Lebrowski does, as it pertains to an interview, I should say, over their head and whatnot, and implement even more harsher terms on them. And is that really fair, given some of the stories that are coming out of the LCU on how these people are being treated? So in a lot of ways, Lebrowski is very much extending Keem's reach. And also, is also helping to be the measuring stick on how Keem may very well punish these people later. Because the narrative is out there that Keem is reaching out to some of these former hosts or whatever and asking them, are they willing to come back? Right? Now, I'm not saying that should be a deterrent for people to not tell their story. What I am saying is Keem is a very spiteful, resentful little gnome, and he will use that against you guys later on. Most certainly. It may not be right away. He'll say whatever he has to get you through the door. Once you're through the door, then that's when shit changes, because you're not looked at as employees. You're not even on paper as employees. You guys are on paper as what do they call it? Independent contractors. That's why those NDAs are written up the way they are, and they're damn near ironclad for the most part. So it makes me wonder, if you guys are all under NDAs, then should you guys really be speaking to Lebrowski unless those NDAs have run out? You know what I'm saying? Or how restrictive or how lax are those NDAs, to be honest? It makes you think. You know what I'm saying? But some of these people may not even give a fuck about the NDA. They're like, yo, what's done is done. If I wasn't getting paid, are you really going to give a shit about that at the end of the day? So something to think about. I just don't want to see Lebrowski in some bullshit to further Keem and the rest of their goals and shit. That's not cool. And I'm not saying Lebrowski seems like he has a good head on his shoulders, but that's how the manipulation works. You know what I'm saying? It's taking what little you know from someone or someone knows about you and using that to your advantage. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge is very much power in a lot of those cases. Anyway, let's continue.
You know, it makes you sick. Yeah, I heard that they actually banned my name on the server. Like, you can't even type Becky. That's weird. You're back from the Discord. You're disgusted. Which Discord? Theirs? Hopefully not mine. I think we've got my Discord under pretty tight control. Some of the plans for tonight, by the way, I'm going to go over goals and stuff, but I just want to like show you some of the changes I've made on the back end. Show you some of what's coming. Show you guys around Reddit. There were some good posts on there. And then chill. We could even work on merch together or whatever. Like, we could talk about the future of the LCU. LCU. Not the LCU. We know they're fucking dying. We could talk about the future of the BBU, what goals you guys want to see. Nikki, I'm sorry, I completely disagree with you. Nikki says, Becky, you know I really think she should change that. I think I've said this in a previous video, but calling it the Becky Boop universe, I think she should really change that name, to be honest. Instead of making it so much about you, like, because Keem doesn't call the LCU, it's not called the Keemstar universe, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think the branding is kind of important there. If she calls it something else, like I said, I don't know, like, I don't know, like, whatever, man, call it fucking the Queen Supreme universe or whatever the fuck, and then under that, like, a subsidiary is the Betty Boop affiliation or whatever. I think that might be a bit more inviting, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like it's supposed to be a conglomerate, you know what I'm saying, or even a council of a bunch of different content creators, but putting it under an individual's name like that, I don't know, I just feel like that's not a great idea, but whatever. We'll see we'll see what the future holds on that. You and Roxy, but stop capping about Queens. You know they are still doing good, and now with the addition of Gidgey, it's just going to keep getting better. I'm glad you feel that way, and if you're happy watching their show, more power to you. They are not doing good. I look at the numbers that count, which are the money, and they're doing really, really, really bad. Really bad. In fact, since I've left, we've made more money over here than they've made over there. And that's just me and Roxy, and our money just gets split 2 ways, not 4. They're doing horribly. I hate to say it because I don't want them to fail. I want them to succeed. But in my opinion, I think that where they fucked up, oh my God, Mary, thank you for 20 gifted. Yeah, I've been watching the numbers that count, and they're down across the board. It's not looking good over there. Like, we are literally watching the LCU die in front of our eyes.
Now, here's another thing too. I remember I brought this up to Proper. If you guys have ever gone to the LolCow official website, if you haven't, it's a you know what? Hold on a second. Let me not be a lazy motherfucker. Let me see if I can actually bring you in. Give me a second. Okay, so here we go. So here's the official LolCow website. So I think it's lolcow.co. Gives you an idea of what they're doing, how's it work, get merch. You can pretty much find anything you want on this site. You can even find out what the top shows are and what they make. You can see their schedules. You can see you can pretty much see any stream that's gone on in real time. So it basically taps you in a pretty inclusive sort of way, as well as adding your Discord. I think you can add your YouTube channel to this too, for donations or whatever. Let me bring you to their leaderboard, if I may. Okay, so here's our leaderboard. Gives you an idea of who's like ahead for the week. They have charts and everything like that. That gives you an idea of what show is succeeding and where the shows are ranked. Keep in mind, because on the back end, Keem or whoever can manipulate these numbers or make these numbers look any way they want. I want you to really take that in. Right? So I'm not saying that they're fudging the numbers. I'm saying they could fudge the numbers, which is kind of what Becky is hinting to. So keep that in mind. There's just a lot of, it gives you a lot of information. It tries to come across as being very transparent. But don't get it twisted. You can, don't get it twisted. If this shit wanted to be manipulated or twisted in any sort of way, it certainly could be. Without a doubt. There's like, sorry, I've got ideas in my head right now on this nonsense. And in a lot of ways, for those of you who follow the DSP shit, go back no further than the King of Hate forums. And you saw how DSP manipulated all that bullshit on the back end. You saw, and his administrators and mods and all that bullshit, and how they got people's email addresses, and then how they use that to dox people and all that bullshit. Same concept. And that's another thing. Keem, if you donate through either any way you choose to donate to Keemstar, he can find your information. He can backtrack you. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that's been prominent as of late that's really had me think about that is a situation in Comicsgate. And more importantly, or in particular, Ethan Van Sciver's beef with Yellow Flash. And how, to make a long story incredibly short, Yellow Flash has made a lot of enemies. People have been looking for his docs for a number of years. It is implied that Ethan has it. Now, whether he's actually passed it out or not, I couldn't tell you. But it's implied that he has it. Well, how would Ethan get Yellow Flash's docs? Well, Yellow Flash is one of his backers on Indiegogo, right? So through Indiegogo, Ethan or any of Ethan's staff could go back and backtrack and figure out or find out who Yellow Flash is, and bam, they got his information. But how is Ethan going to be able to put that out there without it looking like he's using his backers' information to dox them, which he has allegedly doxed some of his backers before. So Ethan is kind of dealing with that conundrum. Same shit here. Pissing off fucking Keemstar is a tough idea, especially if you've given him money, because he can go back and find you. You know what I'm saying? Sooner than later. And I think that's the reason why he wants your YouTube and your Discord locked in, because once he cross-reference all that, bam, I got you, bitch. So I want you to think about that. Now, most of you are saying, well, why would Keem have to do that? Why would anybody have a reason to do anything if you want to take it from that scenario or narrative? So anyway, this is, like I said, this is the LolCow site. If you guys want to check it out, man, it's an interesting look. It's definitely a well done site, to be honest with you. Like I said, it gives you a lot of information. It tries to be very upfront and inclusive But behind all of that, there's a much larger problem or situation that I think needs to be taken into account. All right. I need to actually put an actual dedicated source for that. It'll make it so much easier for me in the future. Anywho, so there's that. Let's continue.
Gidgee, I think, is not the right fit for the LCU or the right fit for Queens, in my opinion. Yeah, Playboard doesn't lie. It doesn't show memberships. So sometimes that does skew the numbers, but still, I've calculated the math. I know what they get for memberships. I know it. They're not doing well. You got kicked from the Discord over there because you're part of here, so you canceled the LCU memberships. Yeah, and people who joined our Discord where they have the little boop tag, like Keem, that really made people, made Keem mad if he saw the little boop tag. It's the littlest things. They're fucking dying. They're dying. Honestly, I don't think Keem's gonna be lucky if there's an LCU by July 6th. It might die before then. It might actually die.
Now, obviously, it didn't happen. I would say, let's see how the end of the year goes. To be honest, I want to see how the next, because like I said, we're in July currently. So we'll see how, let's see how they get through the holiday season. Let's see if they get up to the holiday season. Let's see how they do going past that. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be a slow burn, I think. And yet again, how much resources is Keem willing to devote to this? You know what I mean? And when you look at it, how did we go from a show, what was supposed to be a show or a podcast with fucking 3 lolcows and a host going over dumb shit on the internet, to now all of this inner turmoil, all this bullshit and nonsense, right? There's so much like so much inner beef in the lolcow universe that to hell with everything else that's going on outside of it. You know what I mean? And it's progressively getting worse.
I've even been watching Rewind's numbers. Yesterday, I think they only made $500 and they're going live for 4 hours every day. Queens is in a prime time.
And what the hell? Why is Rewind that? I thought all shows were like an hour and a half, 2 hours. You're up there for 4 fucking hours? Yikes. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not cutting into someone else's time slot? Well, it's not. Now I think about it, because there's 10 shows at an hour and a half to 2 hours. Yeah, it's not real. I mean, I guess that gives them a little bit more liberty to do so, I guess. And they're supposed to be like the recap show for all of the LCU, even though they have too many damn shows up there anyway, but semantics.
And they're still struggling at 1.3K viewers, having to like lick hernias and do all the humiliation shit for money. And Gidgee is not a lolcow. She sounds like a professional old lady, like she belongs on a regular radio station, not a lolcow thing. Kathy says,
is that Becky admitting that she's a lolcow? Makes you think.
Keem doesn't value or respect his fans. He belittles them, and that's why he also loses views and members. Yeah, that too. But like,
I mean, yeah, he treats y'all like shit, but y'all allow him to treat him like shit. Because, and this is what I'm trying to tell y'all. Keem has seen enough of DSP since Side Scrollers, and since he made his offer to LolCowLive, to understand that, in a sick sort of way, by the way, that you can treat some people like shit, and they'll keep coming back to you. You can treat some people like absolute fucking garbage, and they'll give you money, and they'll continue to give you money. You can treat people like they're worthless to anybody in their lives, and yet you can still be the most important thing in their life. And that's a third part's a wild ass thing to say, and yet DSP kind of proves that. Wings kind of proves that. Like LTG kind of proves that. Shit, Rich kind of proves that. I'm taking into account, man.
Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes I like watching Keem be an asshole, right? Like, sometimes it's fun watching somebody say all the things that you wouldn't normally say. But yeah, the problem is deep down, he doesn't have that respect for the viewers or the donors. And that's a real problem.
Well, what do you really mean? Do you mean that the stuff that comes out of his mouth, he actually means it? Is that really what she's conceding to? Because if you have something to say, you should just say it, to be honest with you. And just be ready for what the consequences are, when they come back to you. But she's like, he doesn't respect the viewers. He doesn't respect any of you. You're all nothing more than peasants, serfs, and or slaves to some degree to him. He doesn't give a shit about any of you. And truth be told, he doesn't have a reason to in his mind. He doesn't have a reason to. Why do you think Becky broke away? Becky is sitting there trying to build her own shit so she can get back into, I think, so she can get back into LCU so she can get some actual ownership. She's not, she sees that she has more value, or she brings some type of value, and she wants that to be recognized. Some of these other guys, they're not doing that shit. Like, most of them have either somehow, I hate to say that some of these people failed, but like, some of these people tried to do whatever it was that they were interested in, and it didn't work for whatever reason and whatnot. And Keem was like that second chance. And for some of these guys, it seems like Keem just broke the shit out of you. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And yet you guys are sticking around because you feel like you can't do anything else. And so Keem can come in there and degrade you guys and treat you guys like absolute shit, and you guys believe it, and you guys will stay because, oh, well, if I leave Keem, I have nothing. Keem already says I'm nothing. If I leave him, then I'll be less than nothing. And that's the trick. That's the trick. And Boogie was in on that from the jump. And I think Wings was too. So I think that whole thing with Kelly getting body slammed and whole thing about, oh, we need to stop pretending like we didn't know what was going on with Becky. That was Wings' whole argument. There's way more involved in that than just staging a show. There's far more depth to what happened at Fat Camp than just Wings being mad because he lies to people. Wings already does that. He does that to this very day. So why would it bother him over there? Oh, and for some of you who may have been asking, do you think Wings actually has a chance with getting back on PKA? I don't know. I have no clue. Because Woody's going through a divorce and whatnot. I don't know what Kyle and anybody else is going through. I have no clue, to be honest with you. I feel like I don't even know if Wings could be really considered a brand risk to them. But given all the shit that's been said about him from the PKA Reddit and audience in general, yeah, they'd probably be happy to have him over there for a while. But if it's not going to be Wings that's talking off the wall all crazy and shit, giving wild ass takes, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? It's not like, yeah, maybe a much more quote unquote mature Wings of Redemption might be interesting for a bit, but it won't last. I think it's just going to turn into another LolCowLive situation, given on a long enough timeline. But you know, whatever. And that's if they even make it there. I don't think that's even a thing, because those gaming streams that Woody and Wings are having, I don't see those things lasting because the viewership's getting lower and lower, and the donations are getting lower and lower. Now, it's possible that Wings does really care about Woody and really wants to reestablish that friendship. Well, you don't need the stream to do that. So, you know what I'm saying? Something to think about.
You know, people can tell when you respect them or when you can't. And I think the content used to be good enough in the past that it didn't matter if Keem respected them, because LolCowLive used to be amazing content. But ever since it blew up into the LCU, it has never been the same.
Well, and she's not wrong, but I think the reason why the LCU exists is because Keem needed other things to play off of before LolCowLive burned out. But that's just a personal theory. All right. So we're going into the second and last video that'll make up our broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Also brought to us by Ozzy Cobb from the same stream, by the way, just later on down the line. Let's see. Becky Boop talks about LolCowLive behind the scenes. This right here is what I'm a little bit more interested in, but I think the first video had a lot of value to it, so that's why it's there. All right, here we go.
Holy God, what are you showing me? His head.
Well, look, Gigi has potential, but she would have been good on like the old Milkers or something. By the way, did you guys catch the tea that Savage and Roxy dropped yesterday about Keem trying to get them both back on Milkers? Did you guys catch that? Spam 1's in the chat if you caught it. Actually, spam 2 if you didn't catch it, and then I'll tell you. Didn't. The tea was, do you guys remember at the LCU when Keem was going to move Queens? This was right after I quit. Keem was going to move LolCow Queens to 4 o'clock.
Now I think about it, you remember how I showed you guys a little bit earlier what lolcow.co looks like, right? I wonder if Becky in the future, I should say, or she may go through somebody else, but we'll see. If Becky would go to Keem and be like, hey, can you build whatever her brand is, BB Universe or whatever it's called, a website similar and whatnot to track my stuff. Now, most of you are saying, whoa, Golden, why the fuck would she do that shit? Why would she want Wings to, not Wings, why would she want Keem to have access to her money or even be able to see it, this, that, and third? Just to rub it in his face. to be honest with you, he can see now in real time what she. I mean, I'm sure Keem can anyway. Let's be honest, but it's something that's still adjacent, that's convenient to him to access, just to see what's what, so he could crack the whip a little bit harder over on his side of the spectrum. You know what I mean? That's what I'm wondering if she would ask him to do that just for aesthetics. Could be a thing. You never know. But I'm just throwing it out there.
And move Milkers to the primetime slot. Guess who was going to be on Milkers? He was trying to get Savage back and Roxy. He was trying to get them both back, and he didn't. So that's why he never ended up relaunching Milkers this entire month. And I got to tell you, there is some sweet, sweet justice about that, that he actually thought he'd be able to get away with treating people like shit and that they would go back, and nope.
I mean, he did it to you, and you went back and you shaved your head. So I don't know if he's completely unjustified in thinking that it couldn't happen.
Twisted SMF says, I can cook, but log loaded. That's funny too. I've noticed like the people who go back and forth, or how they call out anyone who's been over here. Like they're just pushing those people away too. And then Keem saying that this was his month off and, oh, he's going to come for us so hard. And it's like, bitch, you've been on stream all fucking month. What are you talking about? You're just taking off a week. He said he hired 4 people to handle the mess that me and Roxy caused when we left, according to him. So he had everything else covered. He's been around. I don't know what he's talking about. He's just coping. Sassy Italian, I hear you. It's disgusting. It really is. Why do I think Tina is changing now for Gigi? That's a good question. Or Gigi. That's a good question. Because she's finally learning that she has to. I think she really just wanted to be able to sit back every stream and do nothing and have people carry her. And I was shocked that when it came time for tryouts for Queens, no one even wanted to try out, because nobody wants to have to carry Tina on their back and get degraded the entire time they're doing it.
I mean, being associated with kid behind a camera is not exactly a good thing too. But then again, she defends him, which makes Becky a pedo defender, now that I think about it. So that might have something to do with it too. But you know, maybe I'm being a bit too presumptuous.
So she's trying a little more now, but the problem is, even when she tries, she still falls flat. It is what it is. She needs to work a lot harder. Big Rob says, I do have a genuine question. If you were doing all the work on the show and you were pulling like 2K plus views, where did the other 1.5 go? Or was that just all the LCU people expecting some BS? I'm not sure what you mean by those exact numbers, but I'll break down how the numbers have fallen. When Wings left the LCU, their viewers per stream went down by like almost 2,000 viewers per stream for LolCowLive. Had a tremendous hit. Then when I left Queens, that was like the final blow, and across the whole universe, views have gone down by like 1,000 after I left.
I can't completely corroborate that, but I will say that when Wings did leave, obviously there was a big hit, but I think honestly the hemorrhaging happened, you know, right after Kelly got power bombed onto that table. To be honest, after she got that Conway, RKO and whatnot, or basically I guess just Conway KO, basically Conway KO. After she got hit with that shit, that's when people were really getting the fuck out of there. When, you know, Keem and Boogie were basically sweeping. Like initially it looked like they were going to take responsibility for what happened, or they were going to be like, hey, you know, we're going to make a decision, stick to it. But then the moment numbers dropped, and it happened almost immediately because of those genuine people who enjoyed Wings, then they were willing to walk that back to try to see if they could get Wings back on. But then the blow up happened in the Discord where certain people in the LCU didn't really feel comfortable talking to Wings. Is it Xylee was one of them, and I think Tina was one of them, who were just like, you know, I can't look at you as the same person given what you did, and so on and so forth. And then there was other people too who felt certain type of ways, certain pay pigs and whatever. And so Wings didn't feel comfortable there. Supposedly Kelly went in there a couple times, tried to smooth things over. Don't know how that went. But when people started to pick up and leave, that's when the problems really happened. Now, I will say that it wouldn't have been uncommon back in those days when Wings was on, when he was still there, to have over 7,000 viewers, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? I want to tell you concurrently throughout at least a week, for maybe even multiple weeks, depending on what the subject matter was, or so on and so forth. But they've definitely tanked since then. And I can't blame all of that on Rastov, even though I think he is the weaker link, but I don't think it's because he's a terrible... I don't think it's because he's a terrible host. right? I just think he's not built for LolCowLive. Like over there on Aussies, he's fine, but I think he's not built for the bullshit that happens over here, right? But then again, he's done some questionable shit that makes me, as well as others, question if he really is a decent person. Fuck being a nice person. Is he even really a decent person himself? Or if it's all just an act anyway. But, you know, apples and oranges, right?
Yeah, views are way down over there. And yeah, doesn't help that the guy running it is a 40-something-year-old man-child. Like, and that he wants to be the next fucking Jay Gatsby. What the fuck is he doing over there with a stupid 4th of July party that's not even content, okay? It's not even content. So what the fuck is he doing with that shit? He should have canceled that shit instead of trying to pamper his own little ass and make himself feel self-important. Should have canceled that fucking shit and focused on building LolCowLive and the LCU. Instead, it's all going to be dead by the time he's back. You're good except for running over my time.
And I have to say, because there are so many yes men over there in the LCU, maybe Becky does have somewhat of maybe she does have like a long-term place there. If she's the one that's willing to say what needs to be said or what other people are too scared to say. Because it is confirmed that a lot of those people over there, I don't want to call them cowards, but a lot of them are pretty scared to stand up to Keem, which I get it. He signs your checks or whatever. But at the same time, you're giving up your time. You're giving up something you could be doing and or building to help him build something that you guys don't even have ownership over because all you guys are just independent contracts. So it's basically like a bunch of people trying to be dick suckers just so they can get on the actual payroll in some type of permanent capacity, which will more than likely not happen unless their shows can somehow outperform LolCowLive. Like that's kind of the measuring point. The show that could beat that consecutively is going to actually get themselves an employment contract, if you will. Outside of that, they're always going to be looked at as independent contractors, no matter, you know, how many times they stick up for Keem and his bullshit. Something to think about.
Do you know what Keem would do? He would literally give you an anal prolapse for not giving him his redirect.
You know how many times that you fucked with Keem's show and Rewind? Please.
I never fucked with the redirect. I don't fuck with somebody's money.
No, but you went over their time.
First of all, for Rewind, but I still gave them a redirect. You, and not by much. That was only if we were making good money or we're in the middle of something. What were you in the middle of, Gemini?
I was trying to hit my goal so I don't become a broke back like Tina.
Did you hit your goal? What was it?
Yes, $100.
Nice. And you guys didn't have to
right,
hear those
you're
the fucking is that really what the fucking measuring stick over at some of these shows are? Is 100? Should be a little bit higher than that. Like, you know what I'm saying? But then yet again, if you see how some of that shit works out, it's just like what DSP did when he started implementing like Vest Streak. Okay, let's you know, $50, $100 a day is what we're, or $100 a stream is what we're going for the max. If we can exceed that, go to 150. And now they have to do all these gimmicks and shit to get there and whatnot, and just to progress. And LolCowLive was like that. You know, hey, we appreciate any donations you give, any subs or gifted subs or whatever. And then they started like, Keem started to really track it. And it was like, all right, well, let's go ahead and start putting an actual number on it. And then after that, we'll exceed that, and so on and so on. He would have never have done something like that 4 or 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? He would have laughed at people who did shit like that. And now look, fucking A, Review Tech USA used to laugh at fucking DSP 4, 5, 6 years ago for doing stuff like that. Now he does it himself. You know what I mean? Like, so on and so forth. Even though I would say LTG's been doing it as long as DSP has. Nah, DSP may have started before. I feel like LTG's been doing that longer though. But whatever. You see what I'm saying? So like this like DSP yet again, not only is he the archetype, the prototype for some of your early Twitch thought / e-whores when it comes to begging on Twitch, but now you're starting to see that on YouTube, and you're starting to see that amongst some of your current lolcows. He's a trendsetter, quote unquote. He could be considered, I'm not going to call him a trendsetter, but he could be considered a trendsetter in a way that he himself can't respect, but he has to acknowledge, because look at all this, and look at everybody who has mocked him at one time or another, and now they're doing it. And you see the results. I mean, DSP, for better or worse, by hook or by crook, he does get those type of results. And that's why Keem adopted it, or that's why Becky adopted it. And then Keem went ahead and basically snatched it from her or whatever. So it's really wild. It's a really wild ass concept. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think DSP would ever take any real validation from that unless a DSP detractor started doing it. The moment you have a DSP detractor start e-begging on their streams and shit is when DSP is really going to start to own that shit, because he'll feel like he literally has something over his opposition. And I don't see that happening, to be honest. So DSP will never get that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that he fantasizes about, because he already is kind of embraced the idea that quote unquote detractors, trolls, haters, and critics need to keep doing this to make a livelihood off of him. So he's paying people's bills allegedly. But for him to know that there's a detractor that's literally doing what he does as it pertains to the e-begging and whatnot, I think he would. I honestly think that would touch his ego in such a way. It would be definitely a dopamine hit. Let's say it that way. It'd be a massive dopamine hit. But once he comes down, he's going to realize, holy fuck, I am a loser. So I don't know. It could be a double-edged sword depending on how that plays out, but I don't think it'll happen, to be honest. Not without those people getting like fucking lambasted and swept out before it does.
Big as
talk
Billy.
about them. Me? No, I'm not.
What?
Stop it.
Yes, you are. Come on, I seen you at fat camp. You were the camp and everybody was running around on top of you.
You're full of shit. You look like a 5'2" Danny DeVito. I don't want to hear it from you.
Hold on. Oh my god, that's too close.
It is too close. No one wants to see that. Nobody asked.
It's my Billy impression.
That's kind of fun. That's actually kind of funny.
I was thinking it would be
I'm
fun
a
to do
Xylee.
impressions. Oh my god, you do the voice so well.
And then the freaking Xylee, you just do one of these. True! True!
He does give the channel spice. I just don't know, like today's a day I don't know if I could keep up with Gemini's
Dancing on your
energy.
grave!
And then you missed the part where she missed her chair and fell flat on her ass. Well, that's all right. I'm about to get really high and really silly, so I definitely feel the gummy kicking in. He should have imitated Zay's zootage. You just have to look like half dead like a corpse and get very skinny and look drawn and then talk in a really high-pitched voice.
Wow.
I look like Pearl with a mix of Mrs. going off. I accidentally sent a chat to the group text with Keem and Mike and Tina.
You did not.
Yeah, no, I don't know how it happened. It like resent a voice note that I sent days ago, and they've all been boop, 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 going back and forth all day in there. And so if you hear my phone going off, that's what it is. Actually,
Actually, now that I think about it, why the fuck hasn't Keem dropped all those voice memos and all of the DMs that he's had with Becky? I'm surprised he hasn't laid all that out yet. Unless he has, and I've missed it. I'm not watching it that close. But I wonder if that is, why hasn't he done that yet? And maybe because, you know, if he does it, then other people will do it too. And that's probably not going to make it look any better. But it also may be that he's just trying to keep the door open to get Becky back in. So, like I said, whether this whole situation is a work or shoot, I don't know. But I know that for damn sure that there's a real agenda behind this. I think one person's trying to prove a point and the other person's sitting back and waiting for them to make set point. Pure and simple.
tell you guys, Keem responded to this, but I haven't listened to his response yet. You want some tea? Do you guys want to know what I said to Keem? Did you watch the episode the other day, Gemini, where Tina was having an intervention on LolCow Queens? Did you see any?
That? That's not entertaining.
I know it wasn't, but it was an intervention, and I watched because I wanted to see all the people say this shit to her that she needed to hear, and they all went so. Huh? I sent them a voice note saying, so I was watching LolCow Queens, and I can't help but notice that nobody yelled at Tina the way that I can motherfucking yell at that bitch, and I can't believe she hasn't woken up yet. And I said to them, you should bring me back for one day, Tina and me only, split it 50-50, just so I could yell at the bitch and whip her ass into shape. And Keem responded, but I haven't listened. I haven't listened. I was high when I sent the message.
I don't think that's going to work out because Tina just yelled back at her. First things first. And on top of that, didn't they have an intervention for you, Becky? I'm pretty confident they did, and that didn't go off well. And it's interesting how some of the people over there allegedly are developing drinking problems. Keem said he was never really a heavy drinker before this whole shit started. Now is there a night that goes by that he's not drinking? Becky was drinking kind of heavy when she was over there. She probably still is. Now she's vaping and taking, gummies and shit. She going the Review Tech USA route with those gummies now. Tina allegedly has gone ahead and picked up the bottle. Guess you like her Jim Beam or her Jack or whatever that is. I don't know, man. I don't know. Who's the next person over there is going to pick that up? Is it going to be Billy? Is it going to be Xylee? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be one of them young cats that are running around there? You know what I'm saying? Because Yo Mama allegedly already has a nose candy issue, allegedly. So what's the play on that? That's not funny. I'm gonna laugh anyway, but it's not funny.
Not sweet tea no more. It's twisted tea.
I would consider Zay and Buff together. I would consider them. If they were a package deal, I'd consider it.
Zay don't like you.
Zay is different on camera than she is off camera.
They don't need to like her. It's business. At the end of the day, they don't need to like you. This is business at this point. It's like, can we make a couple hundred or a couple $1,000 together and shit in a very short amount of time? Okay, I think most people are going to do that. Let's not act like there's any pride or dignity or anything over there. You guys clearly slum for Keem because you guys will do anything for $1. Let's not act like there's self-respect as a thing that any of you are familiar with.
Hire CD-ROM and make sure where the goal is to get him laid. I would never. I'm sorry. I thought he was a good hire in the beginning. I think he kind of sucks. Show me. Oh, that's better. Yeah, let me do this so you could see my face. Okay. So let me show you. Here's the LolCow Queen subreddit. Most recent post is over a day old. That is so dead. Let's take a look at the LolCowLive subreddit. 15 hours ago. 15 hours ago.
God damn, look at what happened to Glammy. Jesus Christ, they ain't broken her all the way the fuck down. Jesus. Unfortunate. She just got married too, I think. Or she got married at Fat Camp. And Keem obviously fucked up that reception because why not? But yikes.
The most recent one. Now let's take a look at the Becky Boop Show subreddit. So this is like our community subreddit right now. Latest post 1 hour ago. Tina shouting a slur. So we've got people still commenting and getting things from over there, which I'm not going to play now if it's a slur. But I realized,
yeah, weird.
do you remember how miserable we were at the LCU that we would never jump on panels for other shows? And now look at us.
Yeah.
Roxy had the fucking night off. She's here. Savage didn't have to work today. She's here. I guess they're actually having fun here. Who knew?
I know. I got home and I seen you guys up here. I'm like, are these bitches high? Because you're all giggling. I'm like, they're fucking high when they go up there and fucking them.
You wish it was you. It's almost as if Becky wasn't the problem, like Keem always said. It was the opposite. I was the fucking glue that held all that shit together. So was Wings. Both of us.
I don't know about all of that. I'm not sure. I do think they were pivotal in their own ways, but I don't know if they held the whole shit together. Anywho. All right, so there you go. That's what Becky. That's where Becky's at now. I mean, things are working out. Obviously, let's see if the Lebrowski interview goes. We'll see what kind of questions he poses. If he poses the right questions, I should say, and we'll see if that pops off. And we'll see what he pulls out of that. But Becky's not stupid, so she shouldn't fall into anything in particular. So whatever she tells him is basically whatever it was that was on her agenda in the first place. That's if even Lebrowski even wants to do it, because I think even he has to realize that not everything is completely sunny up there and fucking everything's on the up and up over there. But in any case, there you go. Like I said, I'll keep up with this as something interesting comes out of it. But, you know, it was interesting to kind of hear the fact that the numbers are probably being fudged. No one should be surprised by that shit. Like I said, since most of them are drinkers, let's do that. Let's go with that hard snorts. The numbers being fudged, I don't think anybody should be surprised of. I'm sorry. It just sounds like it's a thing. I think that Keem will. I think once it's all said and done, LolCowLive will be the only thing left. To be honest, because it'll be the only thing that pulls in money. I do wonder if they are trying to get Wings back actively, and I do think they are. What is Keem willing to offer Wings to get him to come back? With that being said, if this experiment Becky's doing with the BBU works, what would Keem offer her for her to come back and whatnot? And what is he willing to really give up? You know what I mean? Because the only people over there in the LCU that seems to have ownership is Kid behind the camera, or Predator behind the camera, Keemstar, Boogie, and theoretically Wings. That's it. Everybody else are just fucking contractors. So for Becky to come back in given how she's building up her own foundation, what would they be willing to give her or offer her, I should say, to, you know, for her to become a pillar back over there? It really makes you think, because she's building that community pretty fast. Can she hold on to it is the real question. You know, she's seeing a lot of success currently, which is all well and good, but can she keep that success? Can she continue to thrive off of that and turn it into something to where no matter what Keem offers her, to an extent, it's just not worth her time? That's the real question. So will Keem try to get in there before her demand and her stock rises too high to where she just prices herself out? Or will he wait to see what her peak is and then try to see if he can catch her at a reasonable, you know, in a reasonable position where she may be willing to talk and negotiate? Hard to say, but it'll be interesting either which way. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. I'll catch you guys for the next one of these, whenever that may be, hopefully sooner than later. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Snort Report. This has been DSP News, always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh, yes! By GTG Network and Productions. For Hard Snort Gin and Tonic, for SnortBucks Coffee Company, and for everybody here at GTG Network and Productions, I've been your host / anchor, GTG, and I'm signing off. Take care of yourselves, my people. Oh, take care of yourselves, my people. It's going to be interesting to see how the summer finishes up. Well, still got ways to go, but we'll see how the summer progresses with this. Later.